Welcome to the Human Cloud Podcast, the spot where entrepreneurs, innovators, and yes, you corporate warriors come to drive the freelance economy forward. So today we have Calvin Sedao, CEO of Awana. Awana is the leading staffing and freelance developer solution for LATAM talent. We're going to really get into what is the future of the freelance economy for LATAM and how can every single leader embrace LATAM freelance talent. What I love about Calvin's journey is he didn't come in from this saying, I'm going to go build a freelance solution. He said, I'm going to build a solution to scale startups, learned that staffing was his niche of how he could do that. And then his staffing clients said, we need you to give us a freelance solution, to which he said, like most good CEOs, is this going to be consistent and repeatable? And the answer was overwhelmingly yes. The need for LATAM freelance talent is growing very, very fast and is consistent and repeatable. So a couple things I want you to listen for. The first thing is I want you to hear the risk component of full-time, not just full-time employees, but full-time leaders as well. Second thing, I want you to hear why LATAM talent is so beneficial. Leading factor being the time zone, the fact that it's not an Eastern European or India type time zone. The next thing I want you to hear for is why is LATAM so hard? And so, I'll give him my experience of working with LATAM talent and I'll ask him the really hard questions. I honestly, best part about this podcast is selfishly, I would get to ask him the questions that are really difficult for me, especially in hiring something like LATAM talent. Fourth thing, I want you to hear the use cases. So if you're building an MVP and you have high uncertainty, freelancers are a much more viable solution. And you're going to hear sort of his hesitation to hiring freelancers, specifically that freelancers, in his words, your company is not the passion of the freelancer. Now, I don't necessarily believe that, but you'll start to hear why. So enjoy, really, really dig into the potential of LATAM in the freelance economy, really dig into why it hasn't been here yet. And then, most importantly, go drive some change. Before we get started, are you stressed with self-employment taxes right now? I know I am. Well, good news. Tax season does not have to spell anxiety because our friends at Formations have built the playbook for us self-employed professionals. They've helped thousands of individuals like us, and they don't just help with taxes. They can help with incorporation, entity management, bookkeeping, payroll, benefits, tax filing, you name it. And on average, they save us around $11,000 each year. Listen, go to formationscorp.com right now and learn how you can maximize your savings and minimize your tax stress. All right. So Calvin, welcome. So for those listening, we're going to really dive deep, and Calvin, there's going to be an intro before this, but we're going to dive deep into the LATAM freelance market. This is kind of fun because John directly introed us, and so we've never met before. So this is our first time as well. I can already tell you have a much cooler wardrobe than I do. You get the cool t-shirt. I used to have a bunch of those, and then Farnia threw them all away. And so I missed the days when I could go rock them every day. Missed them so much. But
you gotta have it once in a while. I gotta bring out something fun and individual once in a while.
I'll take a screenshot of this and send it to her and say, babe, let me bring back the graphic tees, please.
Just once in a while. Just for the podcast.
Just for the pod. But listen, Calvin, whereabouts are you sitting right now?
So I'm in Ecuador. For those that know Ecuador, I am closer to the main business hub in Guayaquil, and from there, that's where I've set up shop. That's where I live. That's where my family is now. My wife and kids are out here, and it's a great place to be right now.
So the person that is doing all the ops in the background, by the way, is Ecuadorian. So so small world, man. So nice. You'll see. Yeah, and we're talking about the power of freelance. So he's our freelance podcast ops producer. So
there you go.
It's a small world. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
freelance. And so the topic we're going to get to is, I think there's going to be a couple key themes that the audience picks up, but I think one of the first things that I've always wondered is that how come LATAM isn't a freelance hub? And what I mean by that is how come it is more cost efficient, yet it is the same time zone as the US? How come there's still outsourcing non LATAM based, right? How come it's
Yeah.
still Eastern Europe, India? How come when we say, offshore, it's not LATAM? So that's going to be one of the key themes I can't wait to hear from
Mhm.
you is like, why hasn't there already been a LATAM freelance network that's 50% of the economy, right? Like in the US,
Mhm.
it's 30%. But so I can't wait to hear that. But before we dive into that, tell us about yourself. So you're in Ecuador
Yeah.
today. Where'd you grow up?
Yeah. So I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest, for those, Seattle, south of Seattle.
Are you a
It's a little
Seattle
bit more
boy?
minute.
I saw the
South of
UW
Seattle by an
Calvin
hour.
actually. That
Yeah.
in my notes was your UW. So okay, sorry. So you were a
Well,
Seattle boy.
Husky. Yeah. I went there, went to school out there. Um, Tried to play baseball, wrecked my rotator cuff. Was actually scouted for a little bit for that, but in high school, I wrecked the rotator cuff. Now I can't throw the baseball more than like 10 times without just being in excruciating pain. But anytime I'll go to the ballpark and I'll see those, see how fast you can throw, I can still get up to mid 70s, which I'm pretty happy about being in my relatively
That's not
old
bad.
slash young age.
Were you a pitcher,
Um,
Calvin, or what
I
position?
was a pitcher. I was a
You're a
pitcher.
pitcher.
That
Okay.
was, I think at my best, I got to high 80s. And now, even at 38, I can still get to mid 70s. But then after like
Damn.
10 throws, my arm is just like, I need to ice it down.
Yeah, yeah. We need to borrow you. So I have a home run derby with our family for Christmas break, and I tore my labrum. So I did 4 years of college baseball. Was supposed to keep going, and then tore the labrum. And
Well,
so I get it, man. I can't throw anything now. It
yeah.
just goes straight to the ground usually.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to pitch in New York for some rec leagues, but it would always take me like an hour to 2 hours just to warm up if I ever wanted to play. And I'm like,
Do you want to be
I
that
don't,
guy?
I got to do all these weird stretches and motions just to get prepped, and it wasn't fun. So it was cool to do for a year or two, but I was like, it's okay, I'm done.
That is
But
so
anyway,
funny.
yeah. So Seattle, lived out there. I mean, born, and then uh, during the 0809 crash, I was working in an analyst in real estate, and well, didn't have that job anymore. And I had a friend out in New York and said, "Hey, why don't you just pack your bags and move and sleep on my couch?" And that's what I did. I packed my bags, 2 bags, moved out to maybe 3 bags, and moved out to New York and tried to make it out there. I lived there out for 12 years, so I guess I found my monicum of success in New York, and then started investigating LATAM in 2017. So kind of like the ins and outs of living from my New York story evolved from living on a couch to a guest bedroom, then to getting my own apartment, having an eviction notice, and then finding the success. And then once I found the success, I moved out of New York.
How scary. So as a you've done it more than I have. For me, I was 3 months away from rent. The entrepreneurial journey, like, and whenever people ask, I do use the Elon Musk quote of like it's like chewing glass staring into the abyss because anyone that thinks they want it, they have no idea. Like
No,
it sucks.
I
But what? Tell us more. Like you get an
yeah,
eviction notice. Oh my god!
yeah.
What? Tell us more.
So like, for any entrepreneur struggling like that wants to think about doing this, the one thing you have to always think about if you don't have a huge investment back cushion, um, getting paid is a big deal. So I had a client that owed me quite a few $1,000s, and that's where like I would get a couple hundred from a couple other clients, but it wasn't enough to pay rent. And so I like owed like three or 4 months rent. And then luckily my landlord was pretty cool with me, and my co-founder. And eventually we finally got the client to pay us, and then we caught up with everything. But it was really scary when we had that yellow note on our door when we walked back home, and we're like, oh, your heart dropped, you hit rock bottom, and then you just like, your mind starts racing. Okay, how do I make 1,000? How do I make 2,000? What can I sell? What part of our company is really going well, and where you focus on it?
Yeah.
I mean, even in that time, maybe it was a precursor to freelancing, but we had our own company, which was a restaurant tech company. But like that was kind of recurring, so we didn't have any much progress there. So our developers were just sitting around. And so we'd reach out to different companies. Hey, do you need some web development done? Do you need it just so that we could pay the bills? And so we would end up trying to sell that because we were like, we had our sales staff trying to make the sales for our restaurant tech. And then we were like, okay, our developers don't have anything to do right now. Let's find something so that we can make some money.
Wow. There's something, Calvin, that, it hasn't necessarily taken off, but part of me thinks long term, there's something around being an entrepreneur, and instead of going the VC route, going the freelance route to get to your initial set of customers, your runway, your product market fit. And,
Uh-huh.
for me, like the last company I built was venture backed, and we lasted for 2 years, but it felt like we were always on this roller coaster of trying to like invent problems for our solution rather than actually solving deep problems, and so
Uh-huh.
we went in from it. And I remember that the second we locked that pre-seed round, that turned into, okay, find something to get our seed, and then find something to get our series A, find something to get our B. And now in driving human cloud, like, it's been fully bootstrapped, and it's a world of difference. It's a world of
Yeah.
difference in terms of like the client experience you can deliver, our own health, right? Like our own health benefits. And so for you, I mean, let's go from there. So you're doing the restaurant tech, but also freelancing on the side to keep that floating. What happened from there?
So, I guess you can say, I think involves LATAM power outages and soccer ball.
Oh my God.
So,
Okay. This is a hell of an opening.
so
Okay. Power
so
outages, soccer, and what?
yeah, yeah, and our CTO was Venezuelan, so he had relationships in Venezuela. So we built for our restaurant tech company, we built out our team in Venezuela. Um, Due to the uncertainty of the network, the infrastructure and the network connectivity, we weren't sure when they were working. And so that's where the soccer ball comes in. They were always like, oh, our power's out, we're going to play soccer. I'm like, okay, fair, you can't do anything, so you're playing soccer. Uh, then it became, I don't know if your power's actually out or you're just not communicating us the things you need to get done or what problems we have at our company. So, and then they're like, oh, our power's out, we're going to play soccer. And so that just became, I don't know what actually happened. And so then that's why, whenever I even work with startups, I'm like, as much as you want to help Venezuelans and want to work with them, power outages are inevitable. And you won't know when a power outage happens or doesn't. And so I would just advise against it. But we'll get to, I mean, we can get to that later. But
Kevin, I'm not gonna lie, you're already starting to show me like. So let me just, not to butt in too quick, but like one of the growing problems. So I lived in Miami for a while, right? And I couldn't explain it, but I just could not understand it. Was the only way to put it. And so
yeah.
like, and I still to this day I can't really understand why. I just know it didn't work. And the only way I can explain it is like when I would go to the groomer, all of a sudden the price was triple. When I would go anywhere, there was just these massively high transaction costs to just like doing anything, to the point that I was like, screw this. I'm going back to just like, I can't do this environment anymore. And
For
so I
sure.
think you're starting to hit on why LATAM can be so hard, is it's just from someone not in the space. And this is me looking from the outside. I'm like, oh God, I don't understand it. And it's It's too hard. But sorry, keep
Oh
going.
yeah. Yeah. No, because Venezuela is really attractive in pricing. Probably like it's cheaper than India, I would almost argue.
Yeah.
But that comes at a price. So what we actually did was my co-founder, his family, he has roots from Ecuador because his family's there. And so we actually invited anybody from the team because we like them. Like if anybody wants to move to Ecuador, we will pay for your trip to move and we'll pay for everything. No one
Wow.
did. So that was like a signal to us that for whatever reason they didn't want to go to Ecuador, and we're like, we can't continue working with you because we need infrastructure.
Yeah.
So when we went to Ecuador, we saw that there was a lot of good talent, and so then we moved all operations by 2018 to Ecuador. Tried to keep running them. We had a different set of issues in terms of maybe product market fit or CTO. Like this probably goes more in lines with founding your co-founder, the importance of finding the right co-founder. And for anybody that wants to hire a developer or a CTO as your co-founder, a couple things to know. They can get a job making six figures at any point. So if you can't compensate accordingly, don't put them on your cap table and don't rely on them because they will be unreliable because they can get a job making $150,000, $200,000 plus dollars. So that was one of our early mistakes. We should have just had like a CTO part-time or some high-level developer building out and instructing a team of seniors. But we had a CTO and we were relying on that too much. And so that led to 2 years of struggle. And then finally in 2020, we pivoted from that, and which leads to Hire Llama, which is now Awana, which we can get into the name change. But that goes into, we had great people from LATAM and we didn't want to leave them without a job. And so we had a good, strong startup community. And we just asked around, hey, I have salespeople, I have developers. Does anybody want them? These are the prices. And we got everybody hired really easy because we knew they were good. We actually worked with them. We vetted them. And the startups that we all knew were like, yeah, we can use a developer. Oh, yeah, I can use someone that can make phone calls. I can use someone to handle customer service. And boom, I think that led us to pivot and go, okay. I always joke about how we made more money in those 3 months than 3 years with the other company.
Yeah. So let me just make sure I highlight like the one of the themes is going to be just straight up risk of going full time as the default for everything, right? So whether it's your co-founder, whether it's your development team, that the traditional full time model, it's insanely risky. And all like in Calvin, we got a lot of parallels here. So like with Venturel, my last startup, same thing. Like my co-founder was a CTO, CIO, one of the best like back end data engineering founders. Now there's like, he was incredible, right? Absolutely incredible. Like you said, though, you can raise your finger and you have a 300 to 500K job, right? And
Exactly.
to no fault of them, right? Like
Yeah.
only because like they put themselves in that position, right? And so that is 1,000% a risk. And what I would say from our side, like I would, at least for my co-founder, like I give a massive kudos that he even stuck with the problem we were solving for 2 years because of how much money he was losing by doing this rather than doing something full time. So I hear you. Now that's so we have now actually one of the key themes being the benefits of fractional, where it's like, hey, instead of jumping in full time, be fractional, whether it's two co-founders being fractional or whether it's one co-founder being fractional. So that's cool. I love it. And so
Yeah.
let's talk about, let's get into, there's a bunch of key questions I'm going to have on top of it, but give us an overview of what Awana is, and then we'll hear the conception story.
Yeah, sure. So Awana actually came out. Awana, we really decided on becoming a company that believes in LATAM, right? Originally, we were using LATAM. We really weren't sure what our vision was, but LATAM is a company that believes that the people in LATAM can unlock companies' potential. And what that means is the talent down there is so diverse and so talented. They're just looking for an opportunity to succeed or opportunity to show companies that they can be successful. And so they will work really hard and they will bring new ideas. They'll bring a fresh perspective to things. So what we do is we try to bridge that gap. We either do some form of recruiting service or we leverage our network to connect companies to people in forms of either contractual work or freelance work. And then we essentially what we try to do is just develop this community of both entrepreneurs and developers to find success in this remote world working.
I love it. So tell me more about Latin America, right?
Yeah.
And so even when we say the word LATAM, like let's get as simple as possible, right? What regions, what countries, is every country the same? What skills? Give me kind of the crash course into how I should be thinking about LATAM.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll also go back a little bit to kind of like the struggle with LATAM and why
Perfect.
You kind of said like, why don't more companies do LATAM? It's a cultural thing that's pretty new at this point. 3 years ago, maybe at least 4 years ago at this point, remote work was looked as not a real job, except for the few developers that were already in that space. The families of people that would work remotely would consider them like less than a normal worker. So you had a lot of people that just didn't want to do it because they didn't want to be criticized by their family. Plays a big part of what you will end up doing. Thankfully or unthankfully, but what ended up happening because of COVID was remote work was the only option. That made it a reality that it is a real job. So now, in the last 3 or 4 years, like prior to COVID and the pandemic, you had a few nearshoring companies, maybe like a handful. Now you have like 50 or 100. I don't know how many nearshore companies there exist now, but I can see like I'm actually helping a company that's trying to do something, but specifically for LATAM companies in LATAM. It's becoming a real thing now. And so that's why when you see companies trying to find people, the talent is not well known. So if you're trying to look on LinkedIn or anywhere, mostly on LinkedIn, you're not going to see real profiles. What we do is I try to I don't even care what your profile says because I know that it's not a good profile half the time. I just take chances, and that's, I guess, I'm willing to take those chances because you have to take that risk knowing that most of the people don't have a good LinkedIn profile. So I'd say that's kind of like the real cause with LATAM is if you're trying to find the people, one, they're new to remote work the last 4 years. So you kind of have to bridge that gap of how to work remotely with your company, albeit, and when you're working in like India and Eastern Europe, that's all they did for a long time. In LATAM, it's, again, 4 years old. So that's something that when companies go down there, they have to realize okay, how can I make sure that they're going to be successful remotely? And with my lack of experience, some will just go with referrals, but that's where we like to really educate both the community of entrepreneurs and developers. Look, and in fact, one of the things I tell developers when they first work for a U.S. company, it's not rude to tell them no or they're wrong. It's extremely rude to do that in in LATAM. You do not tell your boss they're wrong. But in US, it's common. A developer told me the other day in confidence, they're like, because she got hired at a US company. It's why are they all not yelling at each other, but bickering? And she was like, we would never do that in in the LATAM company.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, that just like they need that. That's how new ideas get formulated. No one takes it personally, or they try to, if you have a good company, they try to foster that disagreements are okay as long as you don't attack personally.
Yeah.
So that's something that as U.S. U.S. companies, they have to kind of establish that from the beginning. And when you don't see it happen, you don't see those disagreements, you have to push forward and say, hey, come on, I know you don't agree with everything I have to say.
Yeah. Tell us more about these differences, because I think this is part of. I think this is so. If I hear you correctly, Awana really, your vision is LATAM, right? So like there is a massive pool of talent that is not seen. How do I say it? That is underrepresented, right? Like there's this
Yeah.
massive pool of talent that people are not taking advantage of in a good way, right? Not a bad way.
Yeah.
So you're there to sort of bridge that. Now, so the biggest thing you mentioned was that remote is new. And so whereas it's been in niche forms broadly accepted for over 10 years, what you mentioned is it's really only 4 years, which, we're talking brand spanking new. Now, what are some other cultural norms? And let me ask the big one, at least from my experience. They're always late. Like, and I know if you're not late, what is it? If you're early, it's disrespectful. So like, at least in my experience. So let me just hit that one on there. Always freaking late. But yeah.
Yeah. I would say for friendships, right? Within friendships or family, it's common. Work, I've never actually experienced that. Like I try to tell people, like when it comes to work, they're always on time or the first to be there. Usually, so I'm the late one in my company.
No way. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
And so when if they're 5 minutes late, I get scared. Like, oh, are you okay? Did something happen? Are you in a car accident? Did you have to go to the hospital? Because they're always either early or on time when it comes to work. I've never experienced them being late unless like something bad has happened. Like it's happened when they were in the doctor's, they had to go to the doctor and they didn't have signal and they were hospitalized for like 3 days. I was like, oh, so you will get the rare cases where they just don't show up if you go into first hire, and I have had this happen once. We had someone placed and they just didn't show up that day. They didn't even respond to us. And so that's not being late. That's just not showing up and not giving us an answer. But
friendship wise, like culturally,
all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So this is where like, I got family, like, man, like most Americans, we're like the UN, basically our families, right? And so the German side is like 5 minutes late or early for absolutely everything. And so culturally, yes, like being late is culturally accepted, but work wise, no,
not at all.
What are some other things? So you mentioned like the and that's not just a LATAM thing, the not disagreeing with your boss. Like I remember I was in China in 2016, and the universities, like that was the big thing. The students were quiet and they wouldn't even ask questions usually, which was crazy as an American because you get used to zingering your professor, right? And like, gotcha. But what are some other things?
Well, I would definitely say and that issue really has to be brought up from top down. Like I try within my company all the time, like, hey, like I expect you to disagree with me. And in fact, now they do a pretty good job at it. Because I'm not always going to have the best idea. I'm not even going to have best thought process for everything, but I'm going to lay it out there and I expect other people, maybe that will create a better idea. So that's the purpose of what I try to do. And I think that's really important for companies to do. Now, cultural understanding is great. Like, I mean, it depends. I feel like sometimes the people down there are caught like in the 90s in the sense that if anybody in the States has watched Friends, like you will connect right away with anybody in LATAM. Like everybody I've talked to in LATAM knows Friends better than I do. Like they all grow up watching Friends. Like whether they're 16 years old or like 36 years old. They've all seen Friends, and they will make Friends references like pop culture, like US pop culture is like right in line and with anybody I've met in Latin America. So like they understand that they have that kind of relationship. Their movies, their TV, a lot of it, and their music. Well, now music is
I was gonna
reggaeton and Bad
say,
Bunny now, but
yeah. Now in the
in the
U.S. we're
past
getting
it
their
used to
music.
be, yeah. Now in the U.S. we're becoming more Latino.
Exactly. And so, Calvin, what would you say? Now, bring us into your world where. So you started off with just staffing, right? Like you didn't start off by saying we want to be a freelance network, correct?
No.
Okay, so let's get into why in the world do you even care about this crazy thing called the freelance economy?
Yeah, so we didn't do it in the beginning because our hypothesis was companies just need their concerns were, especially with the startups we worked with, were having people work for them for 2 years or longer. So we wanted to accomplish that goal, and we did a good job at that. We got contractors to work with companies. They did a good job. They accomplished their milestones, and the companies kept renewing the contracts. Not until in the last year or so did we have companies coming to us and saying, actually, we just need something done for the short term. And I was like, well, my network, from what I know, will not quit their job for a part-time gig. But let me see within my network who has the opportunity to do like 80 hours a month or 60 hours a month. And because the project was to just develop an MVP. That I can't tell someone to quit their job to build an MVP with the hopes that they'll get hired full time. So I asked a couple of people, within our network, I was like, hey, do you want to do this? Can you be dedicated enough? And since it's a contract, you can set the times for the meetings with the CTO. Like, yeah, I could do that. And I was like, well, are you sure you can do that? Because I don't want you like giving up halfway. I can't have you give up. Like, this has to be dedicated. I can't look bad. And they're like, yeah, of course I can do this. Great. And it worked out well. Actually 3 months into it, 2 of them got hired full time, and the other 2 are still part time because they only had they didn't have a need for everybody to go full time.
Yeah.
And so we're great. I go, oh, and that's where the light bulbs work. I think if we can ensure that consistency and efficiency, then we can open up freelancers. And I had another client that actually, to your point earlier of not wanting to work in LATAM, they tried LATAM a long time ago. It didn't work. And I want to get into what's common in working with LATAM in a bit. They didn't work. And so luckily, the engineering manager, who was a friend of mine, came to me and said, actually, he just got hired there. He said, do you have a couple of people that could work part-time for us? I go, yeah, I think I can. He telling me the company had a bad experience. I go to my network and say, okay, look, this company has already had a bad experience in LATAM. This is what the company is looking for. I need you to do this with a minimum 3 months. If you can't do this, just tell me now, because yeah, the money can be good, but if you don't do this, I won't consider you for any other position. And typically developers that work with us get paid 2 times more than what they usually make outside before us. So yeah. I got 2 people that were like, yes, we can do this. And boom, 3 months. I think now I don't know how long it has been now, but they're still working at the company, freelancing. And it's stressful, but it's a good project, and it's challenging. So they enjoy it. And yeah, I think that's the big thing with freelancers. If you're going to work with freelancers, you kind of have to ask that question and dig to the roots. Like, are you sure you can, and give all the problems with the project and be kind of like raw about the problems. Like, yeah. One of the problems that we stayed was like the direction of the company is not really good. So you're going to have to give direction, but you can't just wait around. You have to be proactive. If you can't be proactive, I can't get you hired. And if you're not proactive with them the first week, I'm going to cut you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get rid of you because this is important. And so those kind of hard questions and hard realities have to be addressed in the very beginning. And you can't just give a job description and say, hey, we like to have team cohesion and we like to have beers on Fridays and we'll send you an Uber Eats once a week and we're going to have meetings at 9 a.m. No, the freelancers, because they're working other jobs, until you can make it profitable enough for them to not work those jobs, you have to lay it out real and say, if this happens, what are you going to do? I need you dedicated for 30 hours a week or 15 hours a week. When you do them, we have to meet at least these times. And don't expect me to give you everything you need. Like, if that's the reality of how it's going to work, you have to lay it out for them, or else you're going to have, like, one of the many terrible experiences that people have is where and they end up having a bad freelancer experience.
Yeah. So let's dig into these use cases, because I think so to kind of recap, you had figured out how to work with LATAM first. You had launched a good staffing solution, and then not planned for, but in a reactive state in the last year, it's been, okay, we want freelancers. We don't want just full-time. We want these freelancers. And like any good CEO, Calvin, you turned around and said, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Right? Is this going to be repeatable? Is this going to hurt my main business? Like, no, please don't rock my boat. But so some of the use cases you mentioned was, we're going to get this MVP out the door in 3 months. What are some of the best, or what are some typical use cases you've heard from clients in terms of why they're using freelancers instead of getting someone that's full time?
Well, so the last role, it was like, one, it was just the amount of work that they could give one person, right? So we built a 4-person team. They had a CTO, so that was a big hurdle that we didn't have to worry about. They didn't have full-time work for a lead developer at the time. They didn't know exactly everything that they wanted to do, and the CTO was going to take more of it, but they knew that they could give projects to the lead. The lead could then deliver projects to the senior full stack and the other full stacks. And they weren't sure exactly where the company was going to go. So instead of going full time with people, they weren't going to know which roles were going to need more time. And so they kind of wanted to test out for 3 months until they wanted to hire someone or bring someone on more of they need more hours from the person. So I would say that's the number one use case, is just uncertainty.
Okay.
And yeah, with the uncertainty, they want to do testing. So I think that's that's a good one for companies. The problem is just like, do they have, what is the longevity going to be? Because the problem with that could be, this person is going to get a full-time offer and they're not going to be available. And that can happen. That just requires, and it's not to anybody's fault. It's just, look, if you can't provide the full-time work, these people need to make a living too. They'll do it part-time for you as long as they can, especially if they love the project.
Now, Calvin, where do you see this going? Right? Like, where do you see? Because from you didn't need to create a freelance marketplace, and that's what I love about your analysis and your take and sort of what you see, is you're not sitting here being like, the freelance is the future because I built a freelance marketplace and it needs to be, or else I'm going to be out of money, right? Like, you don't need the freelance economy. So where do you see it? Where do you see it going? What do you see the pitfalls of freelance being? I'd love, I guess let's start with that. Why not? Right? What do you think are the biggest barriers to having all your clients say, let's go freelance?
I would say it's like dedication. I think one of the biggest things that companies come to me and say, I want people to love working for my company. I want people to love what I do. They have to have the passion. freelancers can have passion, but they also have passion for 2 or 3 other companies. And when you're full-time with one, you have like that passion. Maybe it's not 100%, but at least it can be like 60%. And you have other things, or let's say it's 40%, but you have family and friends and everything. That's the other 60, or maybe you have another side project that gets 10%. When you're freelance, like you'll probably have 3 other clients, or you can have 3 other clients, and if you manage your time, and maybe you have other people working for you, and you just have other things going on.
Yeah.
So you can't even give 30 to 40% passion to that one company. So I'd say that's the biggest pitfall. But
Calvin, I gotta ask, that passion. I mean, do you do you think full-time employees really have that passion for you?
I think they can give 30 to 40%. I don't think they'll give you 100%. I think 30 to 40%. But see, what I'm saying is that 30% will be divided between 3 or 4 companies.
I see what you're saying. So the
so
singular,
you might get like, So you will get like, okay, so my time is divided, but I'll give you 30% of I really love vitamins. Yeah. Like, let's say it's a vitamin startup, and I'm like, okay, I really love vitamins. Okay, I really want to make this protein with the database work really well, blah, blah. Okay, I'll give you 30% of my passion there. But now if I have a protein project, an e-commerce project, and a fintech project, I'm like, okay, just tell me what I need to do for this. Okay, I don't like that. Let me do this. Okay, and then I'm splitting my time.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing as long as you have it organized properly and you have that done. And then, and it's short term. Like maybe you don't need that much passion. That's fine. Maybe you just need stuff done, and that's perfectly fine. And that's why you have 2 buckets of people, right? You have startups that want that, and then you have them at the same time going, look, I need stuff done. Like, I don't care if you like vitamins. I just need to know you like coding. If you like coding, that's good enough for me. And let's get this done. Yeah. So I think, like, I don't know if it's the biggest downfall, but I see that like whenever I work with people to get hired on a more full-time or more like long-term basis, and that's one of the top 3 things that they want people to like, I want them to care about our mission.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. I think I'll give you a counter. What I think they're saying indirectly is that when something goes wrong, I want someone to yell at that has to focus on just me. And so the reason, I do think it's different when we're talking about startup and large companies. So like if you take 80% of people working at a large company, I don't think they have the passion, right? I think they're purely there because they have the paycheck and the benefits, and most likely they get stuck in a situation that they can't lose their job, but they're doing everything they can not to work without getting fired, right? and that's why if you look at engagement metrics. Now, as someone that was early at a startup as well, okay, I hear you. Actually, I do think there is more passion. Like I remember when I lived in SF, I was living in a living room. My only food source came from the startup. And to be honest, it's all I cared about when I was working there. So I was equally as invested in. But that's not what I saw at large companies. Oh, hell no, was it not that level of passion. And so I totally hear you when we're talking about like early stage employees, as well as, which is the fastest rising segment of freelancers, as well as the top performers in large companies. So like when I went to Microsoft, we did, like the team that I led, we did in 10 months what we probably should have done in 5 years. And so I think we succeeded too early because we then had to get political, right?
You can't be too good.
You can't be too good. Yeah. And so then I learned, I'll never forget when I was leaving, someone goes, wow, you have like 5 to 10 years now where you can just coast and like run on what you just did. And I'm like, what do you mean? I had like startup mindset of me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like I have to go start grinding tomorrow. So I totally hear you with that one. Now, do you think it's a no-go, or do you think like, what's the implications of that?
There's a place and time for either, right? Like I work with startups in terms of full-time and freelancer now, and I see the benefits of it. If either, like if you want like someone like the thing I don't like to have freelancers do without like correct contracts in place and everything detailed is when um all problems and all hands on deck, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
problem with freelancers. They can't do, they might be able to do that, maybe,
Yeah.
but when you just deployed something, you need all hands on deck. And because in case something happens, you might not need a whole 4-person or 10-person team, but at least having 1 or 2 is nice. And so that's where you want someone more full time because they just deployed and they're going to have that quote unquote passion, or at least they care about the product they did. And as a startup, at least as a startup, because maybe that's where I'm biased to as well. You want that full time. The freelancer, on the other hand, like I'm done. And maybe I'm not saying 100% of the time that'll happen, but again, you don't always need that. You don't always need a bunch of everybody to be all hands on.
Yeah. Gotcha. So we got 8 minutes left.
Well,
What I really want to hear is why, as an executive, right? And we're going to use as a startup founding team or as an executive, I have a budget, so this isn't a problem of resources, but I can hire technically. I can find talent anywhere in the world. I can go to the US, I can go to Europe, I can go to Asia. Why would I go to LATAM?
I would say, well, you're a startup, you either stay in the US or LATAM. I hate working at 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. or even taking calls at that time.
So time zones. Yep. Okay. So
time zone one.
Which, Calvin, that's a big thing, to be honest. Like that is actually a big, that's a big thing.
I would say so. It's as you said earlier, it's so strange why LATAM just became like this new thing. Like why has it become exploded? But like, I mean, we get into it a little bit, but still, even now, it's why are any other areas of concern? Because time zone is the biggest thing for companies, especially early on when you don't want to be 24/7. The small companies, like, I don't want to work at 8 p.m. I don't think anybody wants to work at 8 p.m. if they don't have to. LATAM, I'm sorry, I don't remember the full question, but like, I also remember I was talking to a company that hired in India and said, look, for the same price, let's say I hired a really good talent in India for $4,000 a month or $5,000 a month. Well, I'm still waking up at 8 p.m. For that same price, I could hire someone in LATAM for $4,000 to $5,000 at 8 p.m. and not have to work at 8 p.m. So time zone's a huge reason why you definitely go to LATAM. And sorry, can you repeat the other part?
I'm not gonna lie. Kevin, that's it. I think, to be honest. So in terms of why, I mean, time zones for the same cost. And when we say cost, I mean, are we talking like hourly rates are the same? Are we talking long-term cost efficiencies?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I remember now, like if you want to go 24, it'd be good to have it in different areas just for diversity. So if you have Europe and you have India and you have China, but you didn't even look at LATAM, like why didn't you look at LATAM? Like if you're looking for a remote experience, have that diversity of thought. If you just want one location, time zone, perfect. In terms of cost, I mean, it varies. You can get it as low as, like, it just hugely varies depending on what your needs are, what languages you're looking for. And even when it comes to non-technical talent, it just depends on the background and the English level. It's not like I can't give you an exact number because I'd have to you'd have to give me a job description. I'd be like, okay, that's 3,000. That could be 3,000 a month or $30 an hour.
Now let me ask you last kind of question is, in terms of Awana, why does the client need you? And what I mean by that is, why can't they just go to LinkedIn, hyper search anywhere in LATAM, hyper search Ecuador, meet the person individually? Why do they need you?
I would say that's kind of where we started, just hyper searching and connecting with people. So you could do it.
You already have. Because you already have.
I would say you could do it. I think a lot of our clients start with us and then they get a referral network. And that's what they do. I don't think anybody really wants to go through LinkedIn and hyper search it. It takes too much time. It's annoying. You could use like the Upworks or whatever to try and freelance it out, but they have their own issues with that. Even if you have the verification, there's still some uncertainty there. I think it really comes down to asking those hard questions that, like, yeah, I guess other people could ask, or you now maybe through this podcast you have the information to ask those questions.
Yeah.
But like reading a LinkedIn profile and getting them to respond, because as I said earlier, LinkedIn is a fairly new platform for them. Some are pretty adept at it, but you're looking at the super senior people that are adept. So if you want super senior, I guess it's okay. But also for freelancers, like it's going to be hard for them to respond like, hey, do you want to do this freelance project with me? I don't know. I'm looking for something full time. Or then you have to look for open to work people. It's just like more time consuming. It's like, what is your time worth? We have all these people in our database, and we can either WhatsApp them or ping them and just like, hey, I have this project. Do you want to work on it? Okay, you're interested? Let's set up a call and let me like tell you why you shouldn't do it. So we actually actively try to tell them no, so that they say no. Because if they say no that easy, then they're not the right person.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's really the thing, is like our network and how we vetted and our personalization with our network.
I love that last aspect of you. I mean, you pressure test, right? And I
Okay.
think that's probably one of the differences, probably the key difference between hiring someone, I'd say, in the US and Europe, is that freelance is broadly acceptable, and remote is broadly acceptable. That I don't think you need to necessarily pressure test as much.
Well,
That stuff you can kind of get away with, where
well,
having someone like you pressure test is massive. Now, okay, Calvin,
yeah.
in under a minute and a half, what, and you, this is totally open to you. What do you want our listeners, or even if you want to just talk to people that you want to talk to, not even our listeners, you have 2 minutes. What do you want them to know? It could literally be related to comics. It could be related to the future of work. It could be related to the freelance economy. I don't care, but you have 2 minutes. What do you want to make sure that the world knows?
Well, I'll state that give LATAM a chance, really. Like, I came down here. The people of LATAM are incredible. Whether you want to work with me or not, like, start looking at how to diversify your team and opening up your job roles to LATAM. A lot of companies I've seen just say remote, but like they're focused on like every other area. I've talked to so many people down here. They're technically savvy, they're marketing savvy, they're sales savvy. They just need that opportunity to succeed. I think that's really where I really want people to concentrate on. It's where my vision and mission has come down to. And so if I could get them just to hire one person from LATAM, and where they never did in the past, that would be incredible. And they can look at sites, like go to LinkedIn, just look for some countries in LATAM, like Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Argentina, Brazil, whatever, Uruguay, and just look at some of the people there. Have fun with it. And then reach out to somebody and say, hey, you seem like a cool person. Could we chat?
I love it. All right, man. Well, listen, we have a quick rocket round. You have 17 seconds for each question.
Okay,
And
let's
the
go.
first one, I don't even know if you're going to be able to answer this first one, actually, because when did you leave Seattle? What year?
2009.
Oh, okay. We'll see. Are you DTF or Dozone?
What?
Yeah, see, I think you're too late. I think you're too late. So I didn't warn you. I lived in Capitol Hill for 2 years.
Oh,
And a constant debate was, are you a Din Tai Fung person or a Dozone person?
oh, you said Din Tai Fung. Okay.
Which was Dozone even there when you were there? I don't think it
I
was.
didn't know either of those, but I lived in
Really?
Flushing in New York for a while, and so I know about the Din Tai Fung. But I don't know
Oh,
Dozone.
okay. So
I don't know
your
Dozone.
team DTF, dude, Dozone's so much better. So much better.
I'll have to try it when I go
It's
back.
it's so much better. And then there was this Indian place that was out of this. The food was really good. Like Pacific North or
Yeah.
Seattle and San Francisco food is to die for. Okay, next question. It's a Friday night. Where are we gonna find you?
Oh, at home with my kids, or
I
now
love it.
maybe playing Quest. I might be playing,
Yeah,
and might be on my Quest now.
I love it. And what are you doing with your kids?
Depending on the part of the night, either running around with them, or putting them to sleep, or maybe hopefully reading them a book.
Aw. Okay, what is the current book that you're going with?
I think well, I know Halloween's like a month old, but it was like the spooky pumpkin, like I think it's called something like the spooky pumpkin or the very hungry caterpillar.
That's awesome. Okay, now this one's very unique to you. What is your favorite comic?
Whoa. I'm gonna go with it's a new one. I'm gonna go with my favorite new one,
Yeah.
Berserker. It's produced by Keanu Reeves, and it's a badass comic where this character was born at the beginning of time and it was a gift from God, and he's indestructible, but he's always trying to figure out how to die. And this goes through his and he's this hardcore warrior that's always trying to just figure out how to die and protect people.
That is incredible. Okay, you got two more questions left. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book, I would say Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. I remember as a child we had to read 1,000 pages for a book report, and I was like, you could read a couple different books, but I was like, can I just read this one really big book? And it was 3 books, and it stuck with
Dude,
me for forever.
Kevin, that is such a like. So I will say, like, I grew up outside of Boston, which is very. I've now learned because I live in the South. The North is very like intellectual, right? Like education is very very important. But the Pacific Northwest or Seattle, you guys were so goddamn intellectual. It was insane. Like everyone had multiple degrees and knew how to read better than me, and so that does not
well,
surprise me that you were like, "Yeah, I'll read more."
well,
I
it's also
volunteered to read.
you're indoors a lot more too.
That's true. That is actually this was yes. I'm not gonna lie. I don't miss those 9 months. That was rough. But okay,
So
last question is going to be your favorite animal and why.
favorite animal. Oof. Um. I'm gonna call it. It's called an ukumari. I always create is favorite animal is ukumari. It's an indigenous bear to Latin America. It's the only one left.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
I was gonna create a protein drink called ukumari. It didn't work out. It was just a fun thought experiment. But
Yeah.
the ukumari is a bear indigenous to LATAM.
That is so damn cool. Calvin, where can our listeners find you?
Oh, so yeah. I go by Calvin Sedao. You can find me on almost any platform there. From I think it's X, and Calvin S. Smith on LinkedIn, or just put Calvin and Awana and you'll find me. Awana.io for website, and yeah, I think that's it.
I love it. Calvin, thank you for hopping on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Matt.